Yeah, I thought a big turning point in the game was, I think, right around the 3-minute mark. We were down 1, came down to court. Hunt, we ran a little quick hitter. He got a great drive to the basket. He slipped a little bit. I thought he was going to dunk it. And Van Leuben made a really nice play to block it. And then we got mismatched in transition because Hunter was under the basket. So Trey got matched up on R.J. Davis, and then they ran a play that they've been running since Dean Smith. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's Carolina way. And he got open for a 3, and he nailed it. So that put him up 4. And then, down the stretch offensively, we just struggled to score and execute. We had a couple turnovers. We needed to match. When they scored, we needed to score. Now, it's hard to win games in March when you only make 2 threes. You go 2 for 22. But the defensive effort was off the charts. I mean, I called timeout, I think, in the first 4 minutes of the second half. I think it was 15-24 when I called timeout. Well, they didn't score a field goal until 4:44 to go in the game. And so, I'm really proud of my team, how hard they played. They have nothing to be ashamed of. It was a hard-fought game. Credit to Carolina. And, it's going to be hard not to be able, to have Hunter and Cameron and Efton. Those guys are really good players and really good people. So I'll open it up to questions.
Good questions first for Hunter. First question, back of the room.
Hunter, I know TJ Wilkerson from Virginia Talk Radio Network. I know this isn't how you wanted to end your season or your time at Wake Forest, but if you could talk about, or if you could sum up your time at Wake Forest, how would you sum it up?
After the game, it was just a lot of emotions. Just thinking about, just the little things that we did, just being up in the clubhouse at our facility, just chilling with our guys. Going into practice every day, I'll just miss, joking around with my teammates and different stuff like that. But, the overall thing that I'll miss is just, the family that, we've built the past 2 years. That's something that I feel like has been huge for us and huge for me. Coach Forrest, bringing me in and being able to, create these relationships with these wonderful people. That's been huge, and definitely will miss that for sure.
Front row.
Cam Lemons, Deacon Digest. Hunt, you talk about the family aspect of being at Wake Forest the last couple of years. How tough kind of was the up and down for this season for you guys? You guys went on a run, and offense wasn't working, but you guys leaned on defense. What did you learn about yourself, Wake Forest, and this team that the guys that come back next year can take and make that next step?
Yeah, we battled. Starting off from the summer, if you've seen us in the summer, you would never think offense would be a problem, And then, going into it, we struggled offensively, but we were really good defensively. And, the biggest thing that I took away from us and, the culture within this program is just, we figured it out, and we're battle-tested. So definitely that for sure.
Front row.
Les Johns, Deacon Digest, 24/7 Sports. Hunter, Coach Ford's referenced getting down a little bit early in the second half, calling a timeout. He had a pretty spirited conversation with the team. His face was a little red, but you guys responded excellently. What was that timeout like, and how good did it feel to kind of put together that run to get the Deacs back in the game?
Yeah, it was good. The timeout was really just to, calm us down and get us back in the rhythm. And then also just, the message was just doing whatever it takes to win. And, down the stretch, we definitely showed that we wanted to do whatever it took to win. And ultimately, we came up short, but I'm definitely extremely proud of, my team for sure.
Any other questions for Hunter? Front row.
Hey, Hunter. Sean Kennedy, Oakland and Black. You talk about these connections that you make with both players and coaches and so on. Who would you say that you're tightest with, and how would you describe their relationship?
I'm roommates with Efton, so I say definitely him. But I'm close with my team. If you go all the way from our starting 5 to our walk-ons, and I feel like that's also a testament to Wake Forest in general. The managers, walk-ons, GMs, all of that. I'm close to them all.
Anyone else?
Hunter, it seemed like you had a lot of emotion on the court tonight. You kind of took charge at times and got your shot. Has it kind of set in from an emotional perspective that this is the last time you're going to be suited up and that it's done? And then what do you look at as your legacy as a Demon Deacon?
Yeah, I definitely have. That was the biggest thing that I was thinking about in the locker room. Just how much I'm going to miss playing with these guys, how much I'm going to miss playing for Coach Forbes, and the rest of the coaching staff. And just like the little things that you take for granted in the moment. And just looking back at it, like I remember after the game, I was taking off my tape and I handed Mark the tape cutters. And I was like, this is the last time I'm going to give Mark the tape cutters. And that made me emotional because it's just like how much I genuinely love these guys. Definitely, that for sure.
Standing up to the left.
Royal Howell, the Juice Network. Hunter, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned from the man that's right next to you through the highs and lows of the season, throughout your career, on and off the court, whether it's progressing your career after Wake Forest? What's the biggest lesson that you've learned from Coach Forbes?
How you do one thing is how you do everything. That's the biggest thing. He says it all the time, and that's something that's definitely, resonated with me a lot. And I do that whether it's me lifting, whether it's me, showing up to get treatment, whether it's me doing, little things like that. That goes a long way. So definitely that.
Okay, Hunter, thank you. Good job up here.
Thank you.
Head back to the locker room. We'll take questions for Coach Forbes. Reminder that the Wake Forest locker room is open until 5:46. The Carolina locker room until 5:38. Who has the first question for Coach Forbes? Front row.
Cam Lemons, Deacon Digest. Steve, you mentioned the three-point disparity. That's been something you guys have fought all year. When you're going now into the portal season, when it comes to roster building, what's kind of top of mind for you going into next year?
Well, you always want to get a really good player, but, I've said along for the most part of my career, we've always looked at recruiting offense, and, you want to find people that can not only shoot it but pass it too, and I think that was an issue for our team this year. I don't think we were a great overall passing team. I don't think we were a selfish team at all. I just think sometimes, we just couldn't make the play passing the ball. And so that's why the ball probably didn't move as much sometimes. But also, too, we had two elite guys with the ball in their hands, Cameron and Hunter, and that's the way we had to play to win. So, I think that's definitely something that we need to improve upon is, finding guys that can stretch the defense, maybe, finding not only guards but a big that can – they could step out and stretch it. Trey got better at it. Means something he could continue to get better at. Omaha can. We just didn't have him all year, pretty much. Marcus has improved tremendously. So we just got to add probably a player in that area, and then a couple three, guys on the perimeter that can, not only handle and pass, but that can shoot it.
Third row on the right.
Connor O'Neill with Deacons Illustrated. Steve, to kind of follow up on that a little bit, I'm remembering back to a September preseason event that we had with you, and you said that if you had a game the next day, you'd go, I think it was 10 or 11 deep. What happened to this team's depth over the last course of the season? I know some of the injury stuff you can talk about, but what happened with playable guys that were kind of lost down the end of the bench?
Well, I think injuries were a big part of it for Cosby and Ballou, and then you either play your way in or you play your way out. Just because you say something in October doesn't mean it's going to be that way in March. And so, I would have liked to have been able to play more guys, but we became very limited in what we could do. We had some guys early on that just, we didn't really play well, and so we had to shorten the rotation and had to play a different way. And a credit to them because you heard what he said. Hunter said, if you just watched his practice, you just said this team can really score. But it just didn't go that way. And so a credit to the players for, changing the way we played and finding ways to win. And so, I mean, we all start the season with depth, and we all want to play the guys we recruited, but ultimately it comes down to how you play. And so, those things go into it. Plus, like let's be honest, I mean, not having Omaha, and I'm not making excuses, but, I counted on him to play. I thought he could be a starter in the fall, and he can stretch the defense. And he had some moments today. I thought he did pretty good. And so it's a combination of all those things. And I think, it's hard to, it's in this day and age, just full disclosure, it's harder to recruit depth because it comes down to a money game. And so you have to figure out where to, how you spend your money, how you invest your money. And so, those are things that you have to adapt and evolve as the market changes. But, we'll continue to try to do the very, very best we can to not only recruit really good starters, but really good depth and have competition.
Back of the room.
Ross Martin, 24/7 Sports and CBS Sports. I'm asking this for a colleague. Y'all were the 4th seed in the ACC tournament and likely not going to make the NCAA tournament. What does the ACC need to, and that, historically, like the 4th seed would be in the tournament.
Yeah.
What does the ACC need to do as a whole where they're getting the 4, 5, 6 teams in like it's been in the past?
Well, obviously we're not the ACC of old. We've had a lot of changeover with coaches. And then we have this, since I've took over, this new era of, the predictive and the resume metrics. And so I think it's pretty apparent to me that we need to do better in November because a lot is put into November. And in my opinion, I think once league play starts, it's hard to move, especially in our league this year because if you look at my schedule, we played 20 league games, and 10 of those were either quad 3 or quad 4 games. How do you get to the tournament? And you have to win. You have to win all those quad 1, quad 2s for sure, but you still don't have as many opportunities. And so how do we fix that? Well, we have to be creative, and how do you do that? Well, it's time to be a little more innovative. Maybe we move the Big Ten, there I go, the SEC challenge to maybe do that in February. I don't know. Like used to be, I'm so old. I played in Bracket Busters. None of you guys probably remember that. But we matched up really good mid-major teams in February and played. And maybe you do something like that. We've tried to go to 18 games, but the league doesn't want to do it. I think it gives us more non-conference opportunities. So we'll see. But we have to be creative in what we're doing. Some of it is changeover. We've lost a bunch of Hall of Fame coaches. We got some really good young coaches that are, they're going to be really good, and they're recruiting at a high level. We got to continue to recruit really good players. And, Duke's got – I looked at a draft board today, not that those mean anything, but they had 3 first-rounders in the top 10. And John's doing it. And the rest of us got to continue to get better. And we got to continue to improve the program, from where we've started out winning, in the last 4 years, 23, 19, 21, 21. We got to continue to raise the bar. And it's our responsibility to do that to improve the league.
Front row.
Steve Les Johns, Deacons.